Welcome to the Savage College Football Podcast. I am Kale Wilson.
Hey, and jumping in here with the Do Not Go Quietly crowd is Eric Wilson. Good to be here with you, brother.
Good to be here with you as well.
Little week 2 action coming at you.
Yes, we weren't able to do one after week 1. Had some scheduling issues, but that's okay. We're back on the ball. Got the ball rolling.
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend. There was only a few marquee games, but where do you want to start?
Let's just talk about how almost every top 25 team that didn't play an FCS team stunk it up this past weekend, and then a couple top 25 teams that did play an FCS team stunk it up as well. So there were a lot of interesting games this past weekend, more than there should have been, in my opinion. But hey, I'm not complaining from the entertainment side. But if you're on the coaching staff of one of these teams that struggled and had a close game when they shouldn't have, then that's unfortunate for you.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a few of them. You want to start at Michigan, Oklahoma. That was kind of the marquee game for the weekend.
Yeah, and as on paper, there weren't that many games that looked super interesting. This was the only game of the weekend where it was two ranked teams facing each other. So this is where College Game Day went.
Yeah.
Bryce Underwood, 9 for 24 for 142 yards in a 24-13 loss to Oklahoma. Michigan scored all of their points in the third quarter, and their lone touchdown was a 75-yard run by Justice Haynes.
Yeah, so I'm going to take a controversial stance. Okay. I'm not hating on Bryce Underwood, even though his stats don't look amazing. I wasn't in love with the Chip Lindsey game plan for Michigan's offense. If you look at the way Michigan's been built over the last however many years by Harbaugh, how have they been built? Like, what kind of team are they offensively?
Running the football.
Yeah, right. A physical football team that pounds the football, plays good defense, play action passing. And Lindsey was like basically a finesse guy in terms of the way he approached this game. Lots of condensed sets. I thought from an offensive line perspective, probably the worst Michigan performance I've seen in a long time. So, and I felt like Underwood was kind of running for his life a lot of the times when they tried to throw.
Well, Oklahoma's always had a really good defense. I mean, especially with Brent Venables at head coach, that's been a huge thing for him focus-wise. But on the other side, I want to say for Brent Venables, this is a good win. This is a very good win for you because a lot of people were wondering if you'd be able to get the job done when you bring a marquee team into Norman, and that was a really good win for him. Sooners start out 2-0. They've got Temple coming up this weekend on the road. They should win that, so they should start out 3-0 in non-conference. So I would say for Brent Venables, this was a really successful weekend for you, and you can breathe a little bit as you head to Philadelphia to take on the Owls. John Mateer looked really good, 270 passing yards, 3 for 1 touchdown, had 1 interception, but he also had 2 rushing touchdowns as well for 74 rushing yards. He was toting that rock whenever 19 carries. How about that? 19 carries.
That's a lot. I mean, I'd say the thing that from my standpoint, if I'm an Oklahoma fan, I'm excited about the win, but I'm a little bit cautiously concerned about how they won. So Michigan's defense shut down the Oklahoma running game outside of Mateer, right? The Oklahoma running backs were pretty much non-existent. Mateer was the game changer. So, like you said, how many carries did he have? 19?
Yeah, and he only had 74 rushing yards, and he led the team. So, going off of what you said, Michigan definitely did shut down those Sooner running backs.
Yeah, and so if you look at the amount of plays that Mateer was involved in, and then how many times did he throw the ball?
34.
Okay,
21 completions.
34 times he threw the ball. 19 times he ran the ball. Right? Do the math.
That's 53 plays where he was the main focus.
Yeah, they can't do that for the rest of the season. They're going to have to figure out how to run the football without him, because the other thing is if they put their starting quarterback in harm's way that many times throughout the course of the game, it's going to be very difficult for him to stay healthy the whole year. So while a really good win for Oklahoma, that's something that they're going to have to get better at. And then my concern for Michigan is just they don't really have like I said, the Underwood thing, I thought he showed some pretty good poise for a freshman in his first start, even though his stats weren't great. The offensive line didn't play very well, and they really don't have a huge threat on the outside. Michigan doesn't, So to me, that's some pause for concern on their side of things. Is where do they go? Like, what's their offensive identity moving forward?
Yeah, their best receiver was Donovan McCulley, who transferred in from Indiana, who had 3 receptions for 91 yards, which again isn't bad, but that's not really you got to really work on that passing game because they were pretty one dimensional. I'm not saying that they've become a passing team, but you want to be one of those teams where you don't want the defense to know every single play that's coming, because if your only threat is in the run game, then it's going to be pretty hard to run the football.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the Michigan. I mean, I don't think they've got a guy that can take the top off. Do you?
No.
Like McCauley's not a guy that's gonna win one-on-one battles all the time. He can't take the top off the defense. That's my concern for them, is they don't have a guy that can threaten deep on a consistent basis. And so if you looked at what Oklahoma did, they had their corners and safeties up. The safeties were in the box the whole game because they weren't worried about getting beat deep.
Yeah. And then staying on the week 2 train, let's start talking about the struggle wins over the weekend. There were a lot of them, and then there were some teams that struggled and didn't end up winning. So let's talk about the first top 5 team or top 25 team that struggled in their win. And I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because there were a lot more, struggled wins, but this one just kind of caught my eye. LSU, a week after defeating Clemson on the road 17-10, welcomes in Louisiana Tech, and they only win 23-7.
Yeah, that was a struggle bus for them. I mean, the one that caught my eye, and not to flip because we can kind of go back and forth, but how about Clemson being down 16-0 to Troy? And that was, to me, that was the biggest one of the week for me. It was like, holy crap.
Well, what was funny? In 2016, the year Clemson won the national championship, they also struggled with Troy, and they won that game 24-16. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not that same team. The Clemson had a lot more talent on that team than they do now, but for some reason, the last 2 times Troy has played Clemson, they have given them a hard time.
Yeah, that was Clemson seems to be like offensively. That was a game where they should have gotten healthy on offense, and they weren't. It was a struggle. So they're gonna have to get some things figured out. Because I know a lot of people kind of thought this year was going to be a year Clemson was back, and then a respectable performance, kind of gritty performance against LSU. Okay, that's a loss we can live with. But this is one that people are going to worry about coming out of it. And just like you said, LSU, same deal against La Tech. That's a game that you should go in and win by 30 points.
Now, the defensive side, the defense did really good in that game. And so Louisiana Tech scored their only touchdown with 4 minutes left in the game. So defensively, they did phenomenal. Listen to this. Louisiana Tech's quarterback, Trey Kukuk, only had 50 passing yards on 12 completions. So defensively, I mean, you couldn't have really asked for much of a better performance. I mean, besides giving up that 1 touchdown. However, LSU, Garrett Nussmeier had 237 passing yards, 41 attempts, 26 completions, a touchdown, and an interception. Louisiana Tech's defense really gave LSU fits. And I don't know if part of that was because they were expecting to come in and roll them after beating Clemson on the road, because sometimes that happens. You'll win a big game on the road, or you'll win a big game the first week, and then the next week you'll welcome in a group of 5 team or an FCS team, and they'll give you a lot more trouble than you expect because you just expected them to roll over after coming off a big win like that.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of felt like, just as a whole, that the defenses this first couple of weeks have really shined just across college football, right? They're, most of the time, we're used to seeing high scoring offenses, all this, flashy football. And I think finally in the last few years, the defenses have started to catch up on how to defend that kind of stuff. And this is my prediction, my long-term prediction, but I think you're going to see more teams start to drift back to a little bit more power run game type stuff, play action passing, because I think defensively teams have built themselves to defend a lot of the spread offense. And so now I think the defenses are just tooled up right now. But that's pretty normal too at the beginning of the season. Defenses should be better, right? It's harder to gel on offense.
Yeah, and before we move on to the next game, I just want to give a quick shout out to the linebackers for both teams. For LSU and Louisiana Tech, Whit Weeks balled out another week, had 10 tackles and half of a sack. And then Louisiana Tech linebacker Makai Mason had 11 tackles and a sack. So both those linebackers were certainly getting after it and certainly putting up the stats there. Looking forward to seeing how they both do the rest of the year. So going off of the next struggle win, let's go to Athens as the number 4 Georgia Bulldogs beat the Austin Peay Governors 28-6.
Yeah, that was now, did you watch that game or not?
I watched a little bit of it. But
what was the deal? Because I didn't watch it.
So from what I saw, so Gunnar Stockton, he had 227 passing yards. But the thing that I've noticed with Georgia, whenever they play FCS teams, they don't open up the playbook very much. I mean, why should they? They're a top 5 team or a top 10 team.
Yeah.
They're strongly built in the trenches. I mean, you can run a halfback dive every single play and, they'll still dominate on the line of scrimmage or at least get enough leverage to get 4 or 5 yards a run. And, I don't think Kirby Smart comes into these games wanting to open up the playbook and win by 70, because why would you open up the playbook against a team that's in the FCS when you can just keep it very simple? And even though it's not going to look as amazing on paper, you'll still come out with the win, coming out with basic play calling.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the two things that if I'm Georgia that I'm concerned with are 2 fumbles, right? And then the other thing is when you look at time of possession, it was almost equal. Georgia had 33 minutes and some change, and Austin Peay had 26 and some change. So I wouldn't expect Georgia to have an open playbook, but I would expect them to dominate on the line of scrimmage, to win time of possession pretty significantly, and to hold on to the football. So those are the things I think walking away from that game as a Georgia fan that you've got some concern over.
Austin Peay is a little bit of a team that you're familiar with. Didn't you coach against them a few times when you were coaching at Murray State?
Yeah, they were our non-conference opener every year. They were not. Now they're pretty good now, right? They're not an FCS team anymore, whatever you want to call them.
They are
FCS. They're not a 1AA, right? Back then they were 1AA. We were 1AA. Now they're FCS. But they were a whipping post back then. We used to hang 50 on them, but they're a good football team now.
So staying up on the top 25 from last week. Now, this wasn't a struggle win, but this was sad to watch. How about number 6 Oregon beating Oklahoma State 69-3? Remember when Oklahoma State was a top 10, top 25 team, and you would always expect them to get 8 and 9 wins, and Mike Gundy was, just doing a great job. And now, what can you expect? I was shocked that I didn't see another press conference where he goes, "I'm a man. I'm 40. Come after me."
Well, he's not 40 anymore.
Definitely
that
not.
was a while ago. And what was Oklahoma State's record last year? Do you remember?
They were 3-9.
Okay, so they're on the downward slide, right? And what do you know what they were the year before?
The year before they went, I don't remember the exact year, but I don't remember the exact record, but I know they won a bowl game.
Okay,
they beat Texas A&M in the Texas Bowl, I think.
So one of the things that, and I'm not saying this is them, but I think one of the things that's interesting to watch. I was having this conversation with Grandpa Jer last night on my drive home. We were talking some college ball, but one of the things that I think is interesting to watch is the people who have figured out how to manage the transfer portal and NIL have now your big traditional programs. Some of them are just always good, right? But there's some programs that are figuring this out a lot faster than others, and they're able to elevate. Like I think that's like South Florida, right? That's a program that you brought up just a little bit ago. They were really struggling with the last 2 head coaches, and I think they've figured out how to utilize the portal and manage NIL to create a much better football team, right? And the coaches who aren't figuring that out, even if they've been traditionally really good programs, they're going to struggle, right? So I think this new college landscape is going to have a really big impact on some traditionally good programs.
Yeah. It really is just kind of going off what you said. That really is something that you really need to be paying attention to as college football progresses and transitions to the new modern form as today goes on. You either get with the program of the transfer portal, or you're just a program that's been as good since the dawn of time, and you just have that privilege.
Yeah, because if you look at what South Carolina brought in 13 kids this year from the transfer portal, and almost all of them came from what you would call a mid-major school, right? They weren't all coming from Alabama and those kind of schools. And so when you look at like transfer portal strategy, what I'm seeing a lot of schools do is, we used to have, depending on how many kids a year you signed, you've got 85 total scholarships, and you might sign a class of like 20 to 23 ish, right? And almost every one of those kids was usually a high school senior. And then you'd hold a few scholarships back for transfer guys and junior college guys. Now, what most programs are doing is they're like holding back half their scholarships for transfers, and they're signing half of those kids out of high school. So what does that mean? It means there's about half of the amount of high school kids going to major college programs now, but they're going to sign somewhere. They're probably going to sign at a smaller program. And then if they're really, really good, guess what they're going to do? They're going to transfer out 2 to 3 years into that program. So you're just going to see a complete paradigm shift in the way recruiting and signing kids happens in college football right now.
Yeah. So continuing on. Boy, this one's just, I don't really know what to say, because for one team, this is really good. For the other team, this is really bad.
When you lead in with the big sigh, I always wonder what's coming.
USF at Florida.
Oh, bro.
Oh, yes.
Billy Napier. Holy cow.
Yeah, this is Sunbelt Billy. What you got to say for us this time? I mean, I don't really know what to say. And I want to let you know, like, one of the big reasons why USF won this game, I don't know if you saw, but a Florida player spit on one of the USF players.
Yeah, I did see that. So personal foul, right? And then how did that impact the game?
It helped them get a field goal, I believe, later on in the game. Let me see. I wasn't able to see the video and when it happened. I had just heard about it, but it was, I mean, I don't really know how to explain this. You were okay. So Alex Golish, first off, congratulations. I mean, you beat a top 25 Boise State team week 1, and then you go on the road and beat Florida in the swamp. You have proven.
So you just said something, right? I feel like that USF win over Boise got really overlooked in week 1.
It definitely did,
because there were so many big games that got talked about, and it was kind of like, oh, it's USF and Boise. But Boise's a good football team, always has been, was the college football playoff team last year. And the fact that USF beat them in week 1.
Not only did they beat them like a drum.
Yeah, handily. And then came and beat Florida this week. Like, this is a team that literally was winning 1 to 2 games a year just a few years ago. And so, again, whole portal thing, they've got that figured out. But yeah, that's a huge win for them. And I think what I think happened, I just looked it up, but USF put together an 87-yard drive at the end of the game.
Yes.
With a huge play in the middle. I think it was like a 60.
Yes, I remember seeing that
66-yard pass.
It was just a check down to the running back, and he broke it off for 60 yards after breaking like 2 tackles.
Yeah, but that personal foul, that spitting penalty, extended that drive, and then they kicked a field goal with no time left on the clock to win it.
I remember seeing them kick the field goal with no time left on the clock, but the things, the faces and the expressions that I saw in the Florida fans in that stadium, I'm surprised Billy made it out alive.
Well, I mean, look, this is kind of how he started last year, right? Terrible start to the year. Then they go on this run at the end of the year. He kind of buys himself a lot of goodwill. Everybody's, feeling really good about the season coming into the beginning. And then now where are they?
1-1 with the hardest schedule in college football.
Oh, their schedule is brutal, dude. Brutal. Rip that off real quick. Have you got it in front of you?
Yes. So I want to give a little bit of just tell a little bit of a story. My best friend since 4th grade is a diehard Florida fan. And I call him after
Rest in peace, Riley.
Yes, Riley Gwilliam. I call him after the USF game, and he said, "I officially want Billy Napier fired." And I said, "Man, I said, this is rough for you, man." I said, "Who do you got next week?" He goes, "LSU." I was like, "Oh, dang, that's rough." He goes, "Guess who we got next week?" I said, "Who?" "Miami." "Guess who we got next week?" "Who?" "Texas." "Guess who we got next week?" "Texas A&M." "Guess who we got next week?" "Who?" "Mississippi State," who doesn't look like an unranked team right now. And then guess who we got next week? Who? "Georgia." It just goes on and on. I mean, the rest of the year, as of right now, they only have 2 games where they face unranked teams, and those are still SEC games.
Yeah, they've got the hardest schedule in the country, and so they're going to really have to figure themselves out for him to make it through the season, I think.
And they're going to have to figure themselves out quick.
Yeah. What else you got?
Staying on this week 2, we got another big win for an unranked team over an unranked team over a ranked team. I just got something I want to say real quick because I got a fever.
You got a fever?
Guess what? I got a fever.
A fever for some more cowbell.
More cowbell.
More cowbell as Jeff Lebby's Mississippi State Bulldogs have a huge program win over the number 12 Arizona State Sun Devils, starting out at 3-0 on the year. Starting out at 2-0 on the year. How about them Bulldogs?
Yeah, the Bulldogs looked pretty good, man.
They did. Now, I got to admit, I was very nervous for them because they jumped out to a 17-0 lead. And then Arizona State came all the way back and took a 20-0 lead. Mississippi State scored that touchdown to take the game-winning touchdown with 30 seconds left in the game, I believe. It was I forgot how long the pass was, but it was to Thompson. I know that. Or Xavier, I think it was a Thompson. Yes, it was. But yeah, great win there by Jeff Lebby. And then Blake Shapen finally looking good. I know he got hurt early on last year, which caused Mississippi State to have a lot of problems because Blake Shapen originally transferred there from Baylor. So last year, mostly they had to start a true freshman. But again, big time win for the Bulldogs. Really happy for Jeff Lebby. He's a good guy. Brennan Thompson was the guy that had the game-winning touchdown. 133 receiving yards. Their running back, running back Raleek Brown, 110 yards. Blake Shapen, 279 yards.
Looking good on offense.
Definitely. I don't think their offense is going to be the.
How's their schedule look this year?
Oh, apologies. Raleek Brown is for Arizona State.
Okay.
Sorry. But regardless, still good offensive production there. Their schedule, let me look. I know they have an easy game this week. They have, I'm waiting for this to load here. They play Alcorn State and then Northern Illinois. So
they got a good couple of weeks coming up.
Yes.
Get healthy.
Yes, exactly.
Before they roll into their SEC schedule.
Yes. So they should, God willing, end their non-conference slate 4-0. So then let's keep this going. This game was an absolute barn burner. There was not much defense in this game as SMU, number 17, falls to Baylor in 2 overtimes, 48-45. That one was a barn burner. And honestly, in my opinion, I think it was a pretty big choke by SMU as they were up by 2 possessions in the 4th. And then they just completely fell apart on defense.
Yeah.
Not that they had an amazing defense in the game to begin with, but you know where I'm coming from.
I mean, anytime you got a 2 touchdown lead, you should be able to hang on to that in the 4th quarter. Did they have turnovers?
I know they had at least one. My computer's running slow, so I'm not able to see everything at this time. But I know they had at least one turnover because I remember seeing Kevin Jennings throw an interception. Okay. Well, fortunately, my webpage is not responding. Oh, now it is.
The World Wide Web running slow for you today.
Yeah, I know. The interwebs, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we won't spend too much more time on this past week. We'll just go over a couple more games. How about this? Number 16 Iowa State defeating Iowa 16-13. The second consecutive year they've beaten the Hawkeyes. This is the first time they've won back-to-back games since 2011. 2011 and 2012. They both won those games by 3 points. Last season, they beat Iowa by 1 point in Iowa City. This year, they beat Iowa 16-13. They beat them by 3, both off of super long field goals.
Same 54-yard field goal both years in a row. Matt Campbell has built an incredible program there.
Definitely.
Now, are they, can they stack up with the, 2 years ago, I would have said the Alabamas of the world. Not going to say that anymore.
But they beat UL Monroe 73-0.
Congratulations to Alabama for winning against UL Monroe. But can they stack up against the Ohio States of the world? No, they can't. But it's Ames, Iowa, right? I mean, he's built a program that
almost made the playoff last year.
Almost made the playoff. Kids are super proud to be a part of. He's built it from transfers. He's built it from high school kids. He's got walk-ons out there starting. He's just like, you want to talk about building a culture. Like, that's a guy that's built a culture that is figuring out how to win with, not the top level talent in the entire country, but in a difficult conference. And the cool thing about this, new playoff system, which I didn't know when they went from 4 to 12, I kind of felt like I was going to like it better. But the one thing that I do like better is, that teams like Iowa State can get in, right? Like, where before you just knew a team like that wasn't getting in. If they had beat Iowa, you'd be like, okay, great win. But now, a win like that for Iowa State is just one more notch in their belt to potentially getting in for, their conference bid. So I think the 12-team thing is cool.
So now I want to talk about just a couple teams that did not look very good over the weekend. And these are more power teams that lost to teams they definitely should not have lost to. I don't know who I really want to start with here because there are multiple teams I could talk about. But let's talk about the amazing UCLA Bruins. Nico Iamaleava transfers from Tennessee. He gets paid, I don't remember how many million. I think $5 million to go play for the Bruins. They start out 0-2 after UCLA falls 23-30 to UNLV. And the week prior, I believe they lost 41-10 to Utah. So for a guy that got paid millions to go play at UCLA and you start out 0-2, not very impressive. And me personally, I'm if I'm Nico, I'm kind of sweating bullets right now.
I don't even know who UCLA's head coach is now. Who is it?
UCLA's head coach is.
I'm so out of the loop on West Coast stuff. Like, obviously, if it's a team like
Deshaun Foster. He was last year was his first year.
Gotcha.
He spent 10 years at UCLA beforehand as a coordinator.
Well, things are going good for Deshaun.
Clearly. Another one I wanted to talk about. Now, we didn't get much chance to talk about this because this was a week 1 game. But how about Bill Belichick in his opener against TCU?
TCU looked good, man.
They did. And we called it. No one talked about TCU that week. And Sonny Dykes himself in a post-game interview and pregame interview said, we felt disrespected because everyone was talking about Bill Belichick and no one talked about us. What ended up happening? TCU came in and beat the brakes off of them. Now, how did North Carolina do this past weekend? A 20-3 road win over Charlotte. I'm still not impressed.
Yeah, I don't think North Carolina is going to be a great football team. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't know. I've seen these, and it's not like it never works, but I've seen these guys, make this big move from pro down to college, and everyone thinks because they were a great coach in the NFL, they're going to be a great coach in college. Not always the case. It's completely different. In the NFL, you're coaching guys that's their job, and you can treat them like that's their job. In college, you're coaching 18-year-old kids, and, you're managing people making life choices and a lot of immaturity and all that kind of stuff. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's successful or not. I mean, with all the weird distraction stuff, we kind of talked about that in the week 1 preview. But like you said, it got completely overshadowed, TCU, which looked like a really, really good football team.
Okay, so I have a question for you. Which Power 4 team is in a worse spot right now? You've got West Virginia, who just lost on the road at Ohio, 17-10. Parker Navarro, quarterback for the Bobcats, had 247 passing yards, 87 rushing yards. Or is it Kansas State, who just lost 24-21 to Army at home? Because Kansas State last week, their only win was a struggle win, 35-31 over North Dakota. And they scored a touchdown with 30 seconds left to win that game.
That was their week 1?
Yes, because in week 0, they played Iowa State, but lost that game.
I will say Kansas State.
Really? Hey, how about shout out to the Army Black Knights and shout out to Army quarterback Cale Helms.
Oh, another Cale. Okay.
124 rushing yards. Love to see the Black Knights and Helms representing my first name well.
Well, you know that you always know that the Army's quarterback's going to rush for, a good amount of yards because of the offense they run.
Of course, Army's a ground and pound team.
That's right. They're the Black Knights, man.
They're the military boys. They got to be tough somehow.
You got that right.
And then the last game that I do want to mention is Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech, winning big, 44-20 in Blacksburg.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. South Carolina beat Virginia Tech the week before, but not as convincingly. So Vanderbilt had a great year last year. This is a good potential indication that that's not a fluke, that he's building a good program there. And if Vanderbilt's a contender, or at least just a good football team, that just makes that was the only real team in the SEC that you could kind of go, should be a win, and Mississippi State's been like that in the past. Doesn't look like they're going to be like that this year. But Vanderbilt being good just makes the SEC even tougher because everybody's got to, a lot of people got to play them too, especially everybody in the East.
Yeah, the Commodores, not only that, but they scored 34 unanswered points.
Oh, really? Dang.
In Lane Stadium. Virginia Tech kicked a field goal to go up 20-10 at halftime.
I miss the days of Virginia Tech being really good.
When they had Michael Vick and Tyrod Taylor, and they were actually a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, and when they would play a night game and they play Enter Sandman, that was iconic. When they were good on defense, amazing on defense, right? And then they ran the football good, and like you said, they had Michael Vick, they had Tyrod Taylor, they always had somebody super athletic at quarterback that could make things happen, and they just haven't been able to get their mojo back since Beamer retired.
Yeah, it was really cool to see because I watching that as Enter Sandman was playing, the whole stadium was still going nuts, and Vanderbilt came out all hyped up, and I was like, I wonder how Vanderbilt's going to do because they beat Charleston Southern last week convincingly, but again, this is a whole different wheelhouse and a whole different environment, and they showed up. That's for sure.
Yeah, they showed up big time.
Vandy sweeps the home series against Virginia Tech.
What's the I can't remember the quarterback's name.
Diego Pavia.
Yeah, how'd he do? What was his stat line?
He had 193 passing yards.
What, did he rush? He's usually a pretty good little runner too.
He did. Let me see. Because I had gone away from that game. I'm pulling that back up. He had, let's see. Diego Pavia had, so he had 100. I know I said he had 193 passing yards. And then he had 61 rushing yards. But he had 2 passing touchdowns.
That's good.
Not only that, their backup quarterback, Blake Berlowitz, threw for a touchdown. And they threw that touchdown with 30 seconds left to go. How about that? Vanderbilt running the score up on a Power 4 team on the road.
Do it, commodes. I love it.
We love to see it.
Yeah.
All right. So we've given all of the important week 2 recaps. So let's move on to week 3. And the first game that I want to start out with is this Thursday game as Wake Forest hosts NC State. Wake Forest has not had a test, I would say, yet. I guess you could say they've had a test, but it shouldn't have been a test, as the week 1 they beat Kennesaw State at home 10-9.
Kennesaw State.
who's in their second year being an FBS program. And then this past week, they hosted Western Carolina and beat them 42-10. Now, Western Carolina isn't a good FCS program, but that's not still something to note because, you're a Power 4 team. You should blow out teams like that. NC State is coming off of a 35-31 win over Virginia. So both of these teams opening up their conference slates because for some reason, NC State and Virginia faced off against each other as non-conference opponents, even though they're in the same conference. Don't really know how that works.
Really?
Yes.
I've never heard of that. What is that? Why'd they do that?
I have no idea. But yeah, so you've got the Wolfpack coming into Winston-Salem to face off against the Deacs. NC State's favored by 7.5. Robbie Ashford looked pretty good this past weekend, but again, if it's against an FCS team, you take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the key things to look for here is NC State's primarily they want to run the football, right? Jordan Waters is kind of their bell cow. So one of the big matchups is NC State's running game against that Wake Forest front seven. Wake's good up front.
Wake's had a good defense.
Yeah,
this year
they got
so
a
far.
good defense. They got a good front seven. So the question is, can NC State establish a running game against Wake's front seven? I mean, if NC State can get out of this one with a win, they go 3-0, potentially move into the top 25, and maybe even put themselves in a position to be an ACC dark horse.
Man, remember when NC State was an ACC dark horse? Remember when it got to the point where people were like predicting them to go to the playoff and shock the world?
I mean, every year when Clemson was really, really good, 7-8 years ago,
NC State
they always had to go through NC State. NC State. I think there was one year where NC State beat them, but there was always they had to go through Raleigh, to win the ACC championship, and it was always a freaking hard game. So NC State needs to be good for the ACC to be good, in my opinion.
Definitely. Oh, and I don't want to backtrack. I'm sorry for backtracking. I just want to mention one more thing from last week because this was a game that hadn't been played in 15 years. Missouri beats Kansas 35-31 in the border showdown because that's a rivalry that's very underrated, and I completely forgot that happened.
Yeah,
but that is a hate-filled rivalry in the Midwest, one of the biggest rivalries out there. So I just wanted to at least just bring up that final score.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So back into week 3. Big top 25 matchup here. Number 6 Georgia. We talked about how they struggled against Austin Peay with 2 fumbles, only winning 28-6. They're on the road in Rocky Top, facing off against Tennessee. Now, Tennessee has not beaten Georgia since 2016. Does that change this weekend?
I don't know.
Joey Aguilar has looked good, but again, I mean, he looked good against Syracuse, and that's a Power 4 team, so you can take that into account. They blew out ETSU, or East Tennessee State, but that's an FCS team, so you could take that with a grain of salt. Georgia is currently favored by 7. Kickoff is at 3:30 in Neyland Stadium.
So the question is, can Tennessee's offense, Josh Heupel is the offensive guru. I mean, and he always seems to figure out a way to score points. I think the question for me is, can Georgia find their mojo on offense, which they really have struggled a little bit with, and then can Tennessee's defense hold up if Georgia does? If Tennessee can get it going on offense and Georgia can't really click, then Tennessee's got a chance. I mean, the fact that Georgia's only favored by a touchdown tells you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee has looked pretty good in these first 2 games, but again, they haven't really faced big-time competition until this week.
That's true.
So if Tennessee, even if Tennessee doesn't win, but if they keep it close, that'll mean Tennessee's going to be a dang good football team this year.
Yeah, sure. I agree with you. Yeah, and again, the thing that the difference is now versus a couple of years ago is you can lose a game like that and still make it into the playoffs.
They did that last year.
Great season.
They lost to Georgia last year and still made the playoff.
So it's not if you play well, it's not it doesn't knock you out. But I think Tennessee's got a chance to win this football game.
Let's go to another rivalry game. That's a non-conference game. The backyard brawl is Pitt plays at West Virginia at 3:30. That game is going to be on ESPN. Pitt is only favored by 2. The backyard brawls. I'm so glad they brought that rivalry back.
Yeah, I actually like the fact too that they haven't gone away from the name.
Yeah.
Some of these back
Politically
so during the
correct.
politically correct times a few years ago, they like got rid of some of the any name that had any kind of connotation of something that could be perceived as violent or negative or whatever, something stupid. So
because one of the things that they tried to do is, and technically I think they still got rid of it, but no one has acknowledged it, is they tried to get rid of the Oregon State rivalry. They tried to get rid of the Civil War name, but no one has stopped calling it that.
yeah, I think they don't call it on TV anymore, right? Like that's
I don't think
but
so.
everyone else calls it that.
Yeah.
And I think didn't they also get rid of the Florida Georgia being the biggest tailgate party?
Something like that.
Like that's always been
Or the
like
biggest cocktail
the largest
party or
outdoor
something like that.
cocktail party or something. But I don't think they've said that on TV for the last few years, but everyone else still says it.
Yeah, exactly. It's in these days, man, you got to be politically correct.
Yes, we all must be politically correct.
So here's another top 25 matchup with a team we just talked about, USF number 18 at number 5 Miami. Miami comes with this favored 16.5. Do you
favored by 16.5? Really?
Yeah. I mean, I expected Miami to be favored and maybe by double digits, but I don't know about 16.5. I would probably say I'd probably put Miami favorite at like 13.
I was gonna say like 10 or 11 was where I was probably would put the line. 16.5. If I was gonna bet on that, I would
defense
bet
has
on.
looked amazing.
If I was betting on that game, I would bet on USF to cover.
Yeah. They've looked very, very good. I'm looking forward to this game.
People must feel pretty good about your boy Carson Beck.
Why do we have to say he's my boy?
Well, because he was a Georgia boy.
Well, he's not anymore. I don't claim Carson Beck anymore.
No, the minute they leave, they're off you disband them.
Well, also after hearing the stuff that he did and his like personally, like he transferred to Miami to date his girlfriend that was on the women's basketball team, and then I heard a week after transferring to Miami, he gets caught cheating on her. So I do not claim Carson Beck anymore.
Okay.
Not exactly my cup of tea.
So we're both picking USF to cover.
Yes.
Do either one of us have the balls to pick USF to win?
You know what I said week 1.
What? The U is back.
The U is back. So I'm not picking USF to win. Okay. I'm sticking by my statement.
Gotcha.
You're not believing the hype of the Canes yet. You're not ready to say the U is back.
I am not ready to say the U is back, but throughout the course of the season, we'll see if that holds true. But I don't have the guts to pick USF to win, but I'm picking them to cover.
So let's see, looking at a couple more matchups here. This is just a matchup that I'm not expecting. I'm just wanted to say something real quick about it. Ohio at Ohio State. The battle for the state of Ohio, in my opinion. Ohio coming off a big-time win against West Virginia, who they must have a lot of confidence, facing off against the Buckeyes in the horseshoe. How funny would it be if Ohio beat Ohio State? We know it's not going to happen.
Who's the head coach at Ohio? Do you remember?
I remember it was Solich for the longest time, but I know he's retired. It was.
Let's see.
It's Brian Smith. That's his name.
Gotcha.
They're coming off of one of their best wins or best seasons in school history last year. They went 11-3, won the MAC, and then they barely lost to Rutgers by 3, and now they're winning. They won against West Virginia. So I mean, for a group of 5 team, they've definitely stood up and competed with 2 Power 4 teams.
Yeah, I mean,
not saying that they're going to compete with Ohio State, but
the good thing is they're tested, right? So they're going into Ohio State with 2 Power 5 games under their belt,
one win,
and they're going to go in believing that they've got a chance, right? If they had played a couple cupcakes and then they were going into Ohio State, that's a hard one mentally to take on when you're a school like Ohio. But from the position they're in right now, a good win over West Virginia, almost beat Rutgers. Like you're going into that game going, hey, we got to do everything perfect, right? But if we get a few breaks, if they turn the ball over, if we execute, we got a chance, right? And so hopefully it'll be interesting. It will be interesting to see if Ohio can just hang.
See if they can compete. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing that always hurts teams like Ohio in games like this is depth.
Yes.
Right. Because Ohio State can roll 2 full defensive lines through. They can roll running backs. And usually a team like Ohio, their number ones can potentially compete. But as soon as you get past those guys, you really can't roll guys because the number 2s don't have a chance to hang.
If Ohio somehow beats Ohio State, I should do something to celebrate on the next episode.
What's the line on this one?
Ohio State is favored by 33.5.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a poke and a hope for Ohio, but we're just hoping they compete.
What should I do if the Bobcats somehow pull off the upset? What should I do on this next episode? What do you think I should do?
If the Bobcats pull off the upset, then
monumental, historic, by the way.
Then we take an Ohio State hat and we rub turds on it. not real ones, but we could draw some turds on it or
okay.
Basically, because Ohio State would have crapped themselves.
I was about to say, I mean, if we really,
I don't want you to have to sit there with real turds on your head for an hour.
I was about to say we could just go outside and have the dog just whip one up for us.
Yeah, you know what we could do if Ohio State loses this one, we could actually see if we could get Molly to take a dump on an Ohio State hat. I don't know. That would be a hard one, but we could try.
That would be awesome, though, wouldn't it? That'd be awesome.
Okay, Molly, squat right here.
Exactly.
How about South Carolina, Florida? Or excuse me, South Carolina,
Vanderbilt. Yeah, that game. Dude,
that game
definitely intrigues me.
That's interesting, man. What's your take on that one?
Vanderbilt has not beaten South Carolina since 2007, I think, or was it 2009? It was one of those years. I think
it's been a while.
It's been at least
been a minute.
It's been a very long time. Now, this South Carolina is favored by 5.5, which is kind of surprising to me because South Carolina has, yes, they beat Virginia Tech, and yes, they beat South Carolina State by 28. But South Carolina, these first 2 games, has taken a very long time to get the offense going. Because what a lot of people don't understand is South Carolina had 14 of their points, their first 2 touchdowns, off of Bakari Swain punt returns.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, Bakari Swain is a beast. I just want to say that.
Dude, stud boy.
That kid is a special talent on special teams.
He's a stud.
Amazing.
I think so. My question, or not my question, but I think at least where the line potentially comes from is Lenore Sellers, potentially one of the best quarterbacks in college football.
Potentially.
Dual threat, potentially. He showed flashes of that last year. If, when you look at the Vanderbilt defense, their secondary is their weakness, right? So can Sellers take advantage of a weakness in the secondary? And then Diego Pavia, if you're going to put a knock on him, it's potentially turnovers.
Okay. Right.
So
let's move on to, let's see. Now, this is another one I want to shout out. We don't have to spend much time on this, but your old alma mater from grad school, or Murray State, faces off against Georgia State this week.
I know nothing about Murray State now.
Go Racers. That's all we have to say. Go
all
Racers.
I know is, my question is, do they still have the horse running around the track?
They do.
Do they really?
Yes.
All right. Sweet.
Go Racers. Okay. Back into Texas A&M, number 16 at number 8, Notre Dame. I can only imagine A&M after last year, one of their only, they had a rough week 1 loss at home to Notre Dame. I can only imagine they're hoping to return the favor. Wow, tickets are pretty cheap, as low as $238.
Hey, going to a college football game is a deal nowadays.
I know, right? Notre Dame is favored by 6.5 in South Bend. Kickoff is scheduled for 7:30. This is going to sound kind of crazy, but I'm picking Texas A&M to take this win.
I'm surprised Notre Dame is still ranked as high as they are.
I am too, because I don't know who they beat last week, but it wasn't anyone big. I mean, it wasn't an impressive win. Otherwise, I would have heard more about it.
Yeah, I mean, and then they didn't look amazing against Miami.
No, they didn't. They were lucky to get back in the game because they were getting dominated.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm surprised that they're still in the top 10. That surprises me.
The name of your team can do wonders for you.
Well, that is true. I mean, you're going to get ranked as a Notre Dame football team pretty much coming out of the gate just because you're Notre Dame. Exactly. You have to prove that you shouldn't be ranked in many cases.
Basically. This is a game I also wanted to talk about, Duke at Tulane. And the reason I wanted to talk about that is because two big-time quarterbacks will be playing in this. They're underrated, though. Jake Retzlaff, if you don't remember that name, he had to transfer from BYU to Tulane just about 2 weeks or a month before the season started because He broke honor code at BYU.
What did he do?
I believe. Well, he got accused of sexual assault, but then it was
Consensual,
yes,
but that's still against the honor code.
yeah, at BYU.
Got
It
because
is.
it's BYU.
And then Duke plays at Tulane. So I know I already talked about Jake Retzlaff from Tulane. Duke quarterback Darian Mensah transferred from Tulane. So heading back to his old stomping grounds because this game is in New Orleans at Tulane. So that game has the potential to be a little bit interesting just because of the storyline behind it with Darian Mensah and everything. And Tulane definitely has shown that they can compete with Power 4 teams because week 1 they blew out Northwestern 23-3.
Well, I know nothing about Tulane either. So
why don't you just go ahead and just give us your pick anyways?
I'm taking Duke.
Because they're Power 4?
Yeah. Also because they're in North Carolina. So I got to go with the Carolina teams when I don't have a pick for sure.
That's fair. All right, here we go. The boys that have struggled since last week, possibly going into Death Valley to right their wills and
Clemson, Georgia Tech.
no,
what are
Florida
we
at LSU.
Oh, Florida, LSU. Okay. What's the line on this one?
LSU's favored only by 6.5. I'm assuming it's because of Florida having a decent defense. Because their defense still played well against USF.
Yeah.
Their offense just was god awful.
Also, I guess just because we haven't really seen LSU light the scoreboard up offensively
No, we haven't
yet. You know,
no. I expected them to light it up against La Tech, but they didn't.
I mean, I think there's been a pretty high expectation around Nussmeier this year, and they're supposed to be really good up front on the offensive line.
Passing yards, he's done well.
Yeah, not
many touchdowns.
He hasn't thrown a lot of touchdowns, and they just haven't blown the scoreboard up yet. So I guess they're just kind of putting that up against Florida's defense. But if I was picking, I'm definitely picking LSU to cover.
So let's talk about, as Brian Kelly would talk about, Death Valley Jr.
Clemson, Georgia Tech.
As the Clemson Tigers are on the road against Georgia Tech. Clemson has not looked fantastic in their first 2 games, especially on the offensive side of the ball. The LSU one was understandable. LSU's got a really good defense, but we know they struggled very much against Troy. All I'm going to say is if Clemson plays how they did against Troy again this weekend, Georgia Tech is going to take them to the woodshed, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. Kind of like what we talked about in the beginning. Clemson's got to figure out who they are on offense, and they've got to. I mean, listen, we talked about this in the first episode. Is like Clemson's one of the most talented teams in the country at wide receiver. They've got supposedly one of the best quarterbacks in the country at Cade Klubnik's coming back for his senior year, and they have not been able to get into a rhythm offensively at all the first 2 games of the year. So I agree with you. If they don't figure out how to score points, that Georgia Tech could beat them.
And not really sure who's going to be starting at quarterback because Haynes King was the starter in their opener against Colorado, but he was injured this past week. So the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets started your boy, Aaron Philo, who threw for 373 yards last week.
Well, why wouldn't they start him again? Or is Haynes back? Is he healthy?
I think Haynes is going to be healthy. I don't know yet. But, yeah, he went 21 for 28 last week for a touchdown.
Who did they play last week?
They played Gardner Webb.
Okay.
But
so you should look like that against Gardner Webb. But Philo played some last year too. I mean, he getting worked into the system. So
he scored touchdowns against Power 4 teams. Mm-hmm. So I mean, and since high school we've known he's a stud.
He is a stallion. Yes. So personally, I'm pulling for the guy. I don't know whether at the very least, my guess is if they start King again, then they'll probably at least work Philo in and get him some reps after playing like that last week.
So I got to ask you, after the showing that Clemson has given us the first 2 weeks, does Clemson make it out of Atlanta with a win and improve to 2-1?
How much is Clemson favored by?
Only 4.5, I think. Wait, let me just check to make sure because I'm pretty sure that's right. Yes, they're favored by 4.5. The over-under is 58.5.
Okay. If I had to put my paycheck on it, I put my paycheck on Dabo Swinney being able to get them kind of dialed this week. He he's the guy that every time you underestimate him, he figures it out. So sometimes like they'll lose a game that you don't really expect them to lose. But every time I've gone, Clemson just isn't Clemson anymore. They're going to get waxed or whatever. They always seem to win a game that I don't think they're going to win. So my gut tells me he'll get them focused. He'll kind of help them. Like they'll kind of recognize, hey, we've underperformed the first couple of weeks. If we want to be in the conversation, you know, in the playoff picture, this is a football game we got to win.
And then non-conference matchup scheduled at noon. Tickets as low as $22. Wisconsin at Alabama. Let me just say something.
Did you just say $22?
Yes.
Is it at Wisconsin or Alabama?
No, it's at Alabama.
No way. Wow.
Kalen DeBoer, everyone. Kalen DeBoer.
Jeez.
So this was the last game I was planning on talking about. So can we just talk about for a second?
I was going to say
the Florida State game.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alabama, Ty Simpson looked like before this year, the only game that I saw Ty Simpson play a lot was in 2023 when they played USF and won 17-3, but they scored that last touchdown with like 2 minutes left to try to run the score up because that was Nick Saban's last year. And they didn't want to only beat USF by 7 points because that was embarrassing for Alabama, even though beating them by only 14 was still embarrassing.
Okay.
Ty Simpson did not look very good, in my opinion. And they didn't have anyone week one that looked very confident or good at all. I saw so many players with lack of effort. They just did not play up to the standard. The only guy that I saw play up to the standard of Alabama football in week one was Jeremy Bernard, because I remember he had 140 receiving yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot how many catches. I think he had 9. That kid balled out. No one could guard him. Ryan Williams struggled. He did not play well.
And why do you think he struggled? Like
Ty Simpson couldn't get him the ball.
Yeah, so that's my question. Did Ryan Williams struggle, or did Ty Simpson struggle?
Ryan Williams had a drop or two.
Did he have drops?
He had a drop or two.
Okay.
But Ty Simpson just doesn't look good, in my opinion. And I can already imagine the Bama fans listening to this saying, well, we beat UL Monroe 73-0. Congratulations. You should have.
Yeah,
You're Alabama. That doesn't mean anything to me.
That doesn't mean anything. So there's so many places to go with this conversation. And so we've seen, even when Saban was there, we've seen them.
Real quick, speaking of Saban, Castellanos said they didn't have Saban anymore, and he didn't see them stopping him. I know that we said he was either going to look like an idiot, or we were going to be like, wow, he knew what he was talking about.
He backed it up.
He did. Luckily for him. And I think Florida State, if they can keep it up, they might be they'll be a force to be reckoned with.
I think they've got a chance. I mean, so there have been times in the past where Saban's had situations and they really haven't had their quarterback figured out, right? But they were always really good on defense, and they could lean on a running game and kind of ease a young quarterback into the system, right? Pick and choose when they use him. But they don't have the same defense anymore that they had, and they haven't been super effective running the football.
His quarterback's also not even that young. I think he's like a junior, senior. Ty Simpson.
Yeah, I mean, they only rushed for 87 yards against Florida State. So, I mean,
when was the last time you saw Alabama do that?
Right, less than 100 yards. So, like, I mean, so you can be hard on Ty Simpson, which in some situations he definitely deserves it. But at the same time, if you can't run the football, like, it's really hard as a quarterback, because then what does the defense do? They walk the safeties up in the box. They pin the ears back on the defensive line. They come after you. And like, they don't look like Alabama.
No, they don't.
So that's the thing. To me, it's, what is the story? Is the story Florida State, or is the story Alabama? It's almost like there's two stories. So it's like, is Florida State a football team that's going to be really good this year?
Well, I think we can both agree that Florida State's not going to be that team that went 2-10. That's definitely a given.
I would agree with you. Yeah.
The thing that I've noticed, I don't know if I said this week one, Mike Norvell does really good when he's got a mobile quarterback.
Yeah.
If he doesn't have a mobile quarterback, he's screwed.
That's kind of his style, you know. of offense, and he was smart enough to go get one, right, and to know he needed
Yeah, it certainly
one.
worked out for him.
Yeah. And then the I don't know, the thing with Alabama for me is, I mean, obviously Kalen DeBoer was successful before he came there, right? But you always say you don't want to be the guy that follows the guy.
No, because Nick Saban, I don't think you can argue with it unless you want to try. But Nick Saban's the GOAT in coaching.
I don't think. I mean, listen. I've been around college football for a long time. In my opinion, the best college football coach in the modern day era, right? So you could go, what about Bear Bryant? Well, Bear Bryant was like 9,000 years ago when people were lining up in the wishbone. So there's been like generations of coaches, right? Barry Switzer in his generation was potentially the best college football coach at that time because he figured out how to run the wishbone and do all this kind of stuff. And
Bobby Bowden,
yeah, in what,
Florida State,
the 80s and early 90s, but in the last 30 years, it's Nick Saban. No question. I mean, he took a very average Alabama program that had been average since Gene Stallings in the early 90s and made him a great football program again. So, but I don't see they don't look like Alabama anymore. And literally, dude, this is only the second season he hasn't been there.
I know. So he's still got Saban's recruits.
Yeah. So you potentially have this happening. Florida State going like this, Alabama doing this, right? You potentially have two teams that played each other, that met each other, going in opposite directions. You look like you had a hard night last night, bro.
I didn't. I didn't. I'm good. I'm good. I just didn't sleep very long, but it's okay.
Still doing that staying up all night thing? And then trying to get yourself up early.
Yes, a little bit.
Got to get yourself into that professional mode where you go to bed at 9 or 10 every night when you get on the work days.
So with that being said, even though Alabama doesn't look like Alabama anymore, I still think they beat Wisconsin.
What's the line?
Okay, well, I don't think they cover because Alabama's favored by 20.5.
Really? Yeah, Wisconsin's a team that's not Wisconsin anymore either.
No, but they still have a really good defense.
Yeah.
Their offense is terrible, but they've got a really good defense. So I don't see them losing by 20.5.
Yeah, well, let's see. Maybe Alabama gets healthy and a little bit of confidence back this week.
Healthy? They didn't have anyone hurt.
You know what I mean? Like healthy in terms of like mentally healthy and healthy just in terms of the way they perform.
Oh,
you know?
So
I mean, if you're a team like Alabama coming off of a loss against Florida State, and then you go beat what was it, UL Monroe by 70. I'm just telling you, as a coach and a player, that doesn't do anything for you, right? Like everyone being, oh well, look at. I mean, they know that they beat somebody that they should have shellacked, and so that doesn't make you feel better or make you feel like you've really come back from anything. They have to go beat a pretty good football team for them to get the confidence back that they need to actually make a run.
And then the last thing that I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you were able to take a look. If you weren't, then it's fine. Did you take a look and find any game that stuck out to you besides the one we didn't talk about?
Oh, let's see. Let me pull my schedule back up.
And this will be the final. So we're getting a Capital One sponsor here?
Yeah, Capital One sponsoring the game. Honestly, the biggest one for me was the Clemson Georgia Tech game, which we already talked about. That's like I'm really interested to see if Clemson is going to be the Clemson that everyone thought they were going to be this year, or if they're going to be on the struggle bus.
All righty. How about that?
Mm-hmm. So that was the one I wanted to talk about.
All right. Well,
have you got a dark horse game?
Arkansas at Ole Miss.
Okay.
Arkansas has done a really good job offensively putting up points, and I don't think Ole Miss has really looked as good. I mean, they beat Kentucky by 7. Kentucky doesn't look very good this year. And then they blew out Georgia State, but that wasn't impressive. So, I don't know. Austin Simmons has done a pretty good job, like overall, well, with scoring, but he's thrown 4 interceptions in 2 games. That's not very good.
No. especially as much as they like to throw the football.
Exactly.
Like if you don't feel like confidently that you can put the ball up, 30, 35 times a game, without, was it 2 in each game, or did he?
It was 2 in each game.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's
Against Kentucky, though. Simmons threw picks on back-to-back drives.
ouch. Did you see it?
Yes, I did.
Okay. So what was the situation?
He just threw them into coverage.
Did he try to force it into coverage, or was it a good play by the?
I think he tried to force it.
Yeah.
Well, one of them was a good play. The other one, he was forcing it.
Yeah. I mean, I always kind of look at, when I'm looking at an interception I always try to look at it and go, okay, was that a great play by the defense, or did the quarterback force it into a situation he shouldn't have forced it into? Because even though it looks the same on a stat line, it's not really the same in terms of the way you look at it, from a perspective of a coach and a perspective of like, okay, how much confidence do I have in him to make good decisions? So.
Well, all right.
Okay. Well, it should be an interesting weekend of college ball. Is there a Thursday night game this week?
Yes, that's NC State Wake Forest.
Oh, okay.
The first game we talked about.
That's good. So we got a good game on Thursday. That's a good way to start. What's the Friday game?
The best Friday game that I'm looking at. Let's see. Indiana State, Indiana, Colgate, Syracuse, Colorado, Houston, Kansas State, Arizona, New Mexico, UCLA.
Colorado's a team that nobody's talking about this year.
Well, probably because they got beat by Georgia Tech.
Yes,
and because primetime Suns and Travis Hunter aren't there anymore.
That was kind of the point I was making, right? It was like Colorado was this like feel good story. Everybody wanted to talk about Dion, but he brought all those guys with him. And so now the question is, can he maintain a program there, or was that like a kind of a flash in the pan type of deal? What is your prediction on that?
I think it was more, well, okay. Define good program.
So to me, good program means that you are contending for conference championships, winning them sometimes, and you're in the conversation for the playoff. Now, it doesn't mean you're in the playoff on a regular basis, but you're winning enough that you're in the conversation part of the season, and you're competing, on a fairly regular basis for conference championships, or you're in the conference championship conversation.
I think they reached their ceiling last year.
Yeah, he had a really strong group of guys, and arguably the best player in the country in Travis Hunter.
Don't bring that name up to me right now.
Do you have some personal issues?
Well, he plays for the Jaguars, and my Panthers played the Jaguars yesterday. I don't want to talk about how that game turned out.
What was the final score?
Jaguars won 26-10.
Okay. So what's the Panthers record now?
0-1.
0-1. Okay. So they're going to run the table now and be in the Super Bowl. Is that the prediction?
Of course. They're going to go 20-1.
That's right. Okay. Yeah. I just want to make sure. That's usually the prediction until they've lost 10, and then you start to come into reality.
And then they win it the next year.
There's always next year, man.
Exactly. And when you're a Panthers fan, that's all
I was going to say, this is the Panthers motto. You should have a Panthers jersey that says there's always next year on the back of it.
Yeah. Instead of saying Young or Thielen or Newton, it just says there's always
next year.
Yeah. And just have the number be 16 or 15 to represent how many losses we'll have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
All right. Well, where's game day this week? They haven't said it yet.
That is a good question. Let me check. They are at Georgia, Tennessee. That's a good one.
That's a good game day. Yeah. Is it at Tennessee?
It is. Also, did you see how game day ended last week?
No, I watched the beginning of it, but I didn't see the end of it.
They have Pat McAfee doing the last pick.
Ugh.
But they don't have him putting on headgear or anything.
Yeah, well, they said they were going to retire the headgear thing.
But it was so weird to watch with Corso not being in it.
Yeah, I thought the Corso special was really good. That's something that we talked about him retiring on the pre-show, but we haven't kind of recapped. I thought the ESPN handled that show really well, because obviously Corso is struggling right now, speaking because of the stroke and the degeneration. But I thought ESPN did a really good job of creating situations where they could feature him and still let him talk, right? They didn't just like take him out of the picture, but they also supported him with enough people around him that he didn't ever like kind of get lost.
Yeah. After what I saw last week, this is going to sound really weird, but I don't know if I'm going to watch College Game Day anymore. Just because Corso's gone.
Yeah. I mean,
It just felt so weird. I mean, I may still watch it, but and maybe I'll eventually get used to it, but it's definitely never going to be the same.
to me, it's not just, well, it is Corso's part of it, but to me, there's a lot of it, right? I don't think College Game Day has been the same since Fowler left. I think Reese Davis does a good job. I'm like not knocking on Reese. I just think Fowler's exceptional. I really, really liked Fowler.
Yeah.
And then Gene Wojciechowski, and Tom Rinaldi leave.
Yeah.
Right. And those guys were always the guys who kind of did the feel good piece every week.
My favorite one that Gene Wojciechowski did was that one on Tyler Trent. You know what I'm talking about? That kid from Purdue that had cancer.
Oh, yeah.
The year they played Ohio State, and
that was a really good
that
one.
was an awesome story.
Yeah. But like Rinaldi did a great job too when he was doing them. They always just did really, really good stories. And the guy they've got doing it now he's okay, but there's been so much transition out of there.
I also hate the new theme song. They don't use Big and Rich anymore.
Yeah, dude, I was going to bring that up too. So they started doing that was it last year, right?
Yeah, they got like Darius Rucker.
No
disrespect to Darius Rucker, but like
Lainey Wilson. Is it Lainey Wilson? What's her
name?
But
I'm like,
that's the Big and Rich's song.
Yeah.
Right. So why would you take their? I know it's like
they're getting older, but still.
Yeah, but it's still. I think it's the thing. It's the thing that I said in the first week is I feel like the Game Day has gone
downhill almost.
Yeah, like it's trying to be. It's almost a try hard for entertainment, right? Like in the beginning, to me, the entertainment, like the Corso thing and all that stuff, came very organically, and I feel like now they're like almost trying too hard to be entertaining. Like it's almost like a game show.
If that makes sense. I get exactly what you're saying.
Yeah,
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think the reason I still watch it is because Kirk and Desmond and Reese still give their analytical picks, and I still like to hear that. But I don't know. Pat giving the last pick of the show. I knew that was coming too.
They're trying to replace. He's supposed to be the guy that replaces Corso, right? And for me, I don't dislike Desmond Howard. He's just never been a guy that like captivates me. So the only guy that's really left on there now that I really like is Herb Street. So I haven't been like a regular watcher of Game Day since Fowler left. Like that, and I know that's kind of seems like not a huge transition compared to some of them, but that one made a big difference to me.
Yeah, I like Dez. I think that's, I don't know why. I just do, probably just because
some people just like his vibe.
He's got a good vibe. He's still like, even though like, because I know he's still in his 50s, but he still like feels like the young guy on the. He feels younger. He like feels like the younger guy compared to McAfee, because
he's kind of like cool.
Yeah, and I love his laugh. You gotta love his laugh.
Yeah, like Dez is cool without trying to be cool. Like McAfee's trying to be cool.
Yeah, McAfee's like that new student that walks into class. You seen that SNL skit where dude walks into the classroom saying like, "Mr. C, my dog ate my alarm clock," and he just like puts his like feet up on the desk. "What do you say we learn some English lit?" And the teacher just like swipes his feet off the desk like, "Shut up. Yeah. Get your feet off the desk."
He's like the look at me guy.
Yeah.
Look at me, look at me, look at me.
Yeah.
Right. And Dez is like the guy who just, even though like I don't love his like analysis, but he's just cool.
Yeah.
Without trying to be cool.
Because he won a Heisman.
Yeah.
And like, so he still knows ball.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And McAfee was a punter. So
hey. Don't disrespect kicks. Don't disrespect kickers.
I have high respect for the special teams game. I just don't know that the punter is going to give you your best analysis. But
right.
Whatever.
Yeah. Well.
All right, bro.
We have a very eventful weekend of college football coming up again this weekend.
Yep. And we will break it all down next Monday after this next round of games. So,
and after the Panthers go 1-1.
yeah. So enjoy the weekend, everybody. Thanks for jumping in.
Thank you guys, and enjoy your college football Saturday, Thursday, and Friday.
Peace out.